While Playdead was in the process of making Inside, another studio was already developing a game very similar to Playdead's. Developed by Tarsier Studios in 2017, although it's easy to assume this game was also made by Playdead, Tarsier Studios have been making these kinds of games long before Playdead with Little Big Planet. Now, to say they may have had inspiration from Limbo to make a dark Little Big Planet game that eventually became Little Nightmares might be more practical, even if they deny it. Deviating from the obvious similarities, the reason why I prefer Little Nightmares over Limbo is from a narrative standpoint. Where in the last video I mentioned Limbo focused on the gameplay and puzzle aspect, Little Nightmares focuses on the opposite. Don't get me wrong, there are a variety of puzzles in the game, but it's clear that Little Nightmares is going more for a narrative story. Where in Limbo and Inside, the puzzles acted as obstacles to stop the player's progression, stealth sections act much as the same in Little Nightmares. And as someone who absolutely despises stealth sections in games and almost always gets caught, this game really made stealth sections work. The story of Little Nightmares follows a girl named Hungry Child, Girl in Yellow Raincoat, Young Girl in Yellow Raincoat. There have been so many names came up for this girl that for the sake of structure, I'm just gonna call her what the wiki calls her, Six. And just to get out of the way, I am aware there are like 4 different DLCs, 2 different comics, and even a mobiles game worth of lore to get into, but this is not that kind of video. There's many different great videos that have been made that get into the nitty gritty of this game's timeline, but this ain't one of them. Now, the story of Little Nightmares follows Six as she wakes up in a strange underwater complex called the Maw. And if you haven't already noticed, everything in the game is comedically large. I'm still not sure if you're meant to be tiny or if you're placed in a giant world, but either way, this world makes it easier to kill yourself than ever before. I guess it's to make you think that someone's hanging there. Then you just realize that it's just fucking pants. Alright, well, that's what I get for trying to fucking explore. As Six navigates through the complex, she encounters a variety of otherworldly creatures with distorted humanoid features, while avoiding capture from entities standing guard, preventing anyone from trying to escape the complex. Throughout the game, Six will suffer from hunger pains as the result of being in the Maw for days without food, forcing her to eat anything she can get her hands on. Now, children play a big role in this game, being scattered throughout the complex, either hiding, trapped in cages, or wrapped in cloth by the janitor. Each area in the Maw acts as representation for products, specifically food related. It starts with the catching of the product, then the processing, and eventually going to the consumer. Of course, this is all intertwined with common childhood fears and themes of gluttony and the loss of innocence. This is best illustrated at the end of the game, where Six defeats the lady and quite literally consumes her powers. She ends up finally getting to leave the Maw, but at the cost of her innocence, which has been progressively deflating the longer she's in the complex. Of course, the story would be nothing if not for the art style. The art style and visuals of Little Nightmares are a significant part of what makes this game so memorable and effective. Treasure's art department did an exceptional job when it comes to defining the atmosphere of the world. I stand by my opinion that when you want to make something disturbing, animation is the best way to go. There's so much that this game takes advantage of since it's animated, and it uses every opportunity it can to showcase its character designs. Similar to Limbo and Inside, the game primarily uses a muted and desaturated color palette, dominated by shades of gray, blue, and brown. These colors are used to enhance the bleak and oppressive atmosphere of the Maw. Occasional bursts of color, such as the boy's shirt in Inside, is reflected in Six's bright yellow raincoat. The dim lighting and shadows are very much emphasized in Little Nightmares. You get the feeling of claustrophobia as the shadows and dark limit much of where you can go and confines you to a small section of an area. One thing that Little Nightmares does is play with its camera angles. The camera often pulls back to show the scale of the environments or zooms into tight areas to create a sense of intimacy and tension during key moments. Six herself is designed to appear small and vulnerable, which contrasts variably with the oversized environment and enemies she encounters. Characters like the janitor with his long spindly arms and the twin chefs with their grotesque corpulent bodies are exaggerated in a way that would match a way a child would focus on and over-exaggerate certain features. Now, good visuals and audio are usually found in the same game, and this game's audio fucks. Each area within the maw has its own distinct soundscape that reflects its atmosphere. The creaking of wood boards, the distinct echoes of machinery, and the dripping water all contribute to a feeling of being in a decaying environment. However, the use of silence is also used effectively to heighten tension and suspense. Quiet moments make players more aware of the slightest sounds, such as Six's footsteps or distinct noise of a certain enemy. It constantly switches from an intense high-energy chase scene to a slow, methodical ambience. It gives you just enough to keep you on your toes, but takes it back and reminds you that you're playing a treasure game. The soundtrack in Little Nightmares often consists of subtle ambient tracks that blend seamlessly with the environmental sounds. The music is designed to enhance the mood without overpowering other audio elements. It essentially underscores the emotional beats of the game. Although the use of music is sparse, it makes its presence more impactful when it actually does occur, and it grabs your attention. The game's atmosphere and storytelling is why other elements in the game work so well. They focus on creating a compelling story, then added the shading and details after the outline was essentially done, and it gets even better in the second game. Now, since this is a sequel to Little Nightmares 1, you'd think that a lot of what I already said can pretty much be said about the second game. But surprisingly, there's actually quite a few upgrades Little Nightmares 2 does that improves from the first. Not only does it build upon the foundations already laid by the first game, but it delivers an even richer and more immersive horror experience. And a big reason is because of the world building it does. This is the first game in the series to have dual protagonists. Six is accompanied by Mono. Having another person to interact with, even without the use of words, adds new dynamics to the mechanics and emotional depth, as now you have to worry about the survival of two characters instead of just one. Throughout the game, you can see the way the characters mimic each other's actions and gauges reactions through their movements. It makes the game a little more bearable knowing that there's someone along for the ride with you. The game also introduces a wider variety of locations compared to the first game. Locations like eerie forests, desolate towns, and unsettling daycares. It feels like you're on your own personal journey, and you can actively see yourself progress further in the game as the settings change. Each area is specifically designed to evoke a distinct sense of unease. The forests make you feel vulnerable as you're being hunted down with a little cover to protect you. The towns almost feel like a liminal space, not only because of its scale, but being in an area that's usually thriving with activity but is now empty and desolate. The art style retains its dark dreamlike quality, but with much improved detail in the characters and settings. The environments are richly textured with more interactive elements and environmental storytelling. This is showcased even more when the game continues the trend of pushing out the camera and really allow you to get a sense of just how small you are in comparison to the world you inhabit. And if you thought the sound design in Little Nightmares 1 was good, the same goes for the music. The score in Little Nightmares 2 perfectly complements the game's visuals and narrative style. Often, the music features sparse orchestrations, using a limited number of instruments in order to create a very intimate sound. This approach allows music to blend seamlessly with the ambient sounds and environmental noises, enhancing the immersive experience as if the music is diegetic within the game. Each character and enemy in the game has their own music cues. Mono's and Six's music often features melancholic melodies and gentleness, while enemies like the Teacher and the Thin Man have distorted static-like sounds and unsettling electronic elements added to them. The conclusion of Little Nightmares 2 not only ties it to the first game, but also expands the universe's lore. It provides a deeper understanding of the interconnections between the characters. This ending sets the stage for future explorations within the Little Nightmares universe, and with the third game coming soon, I can only hope that they continue to connect these games together and continue the narrative effectively as the first two games did. I fucking hate this. I hate this shit so fucking much. You do not understand how much I fucking hate this. Oh my fucking god. There's multiple!